Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our virtual talk about Learn Nature with Tom Kinsey. I'm so glad you could join us today. Before we get started with Tom Kinsey, I'm going to hand it over to Teresa Shoemaker.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I just wanted to say a quick bit about the Phil Harberger Park Conservancy. We are a member-based nonprofit that supports programs in the park.
Pin video.
We bridge the gap between San Antonio and nature by also protecting the habitat, promoting volunteer activities, and the development of the park, such as the land bridge that should be open later this year. If y'all are a fan of programs in the park, please consider becoming a member or possibly sending us a small donation. Every little bit helps. You can learn more by going to philharbergerpark.org. Thank you very much, and I hope y'all enjoy the program.
Everyone, this talk will be recorded and shared on our website. Please turn off your video and mute your microphone. That will help reduce background noise. So today we have Tom Kinsey to talk to us about Learn Nature and show us a lot of his little critters. He works with all kinds of animals, and many of which we will meet today and learn about today. So Tom, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. We're going to talk about alternative pets, things you can have for pets that's not a dog or a cat. And I know some of you already have some pets, some of you don't have some pets, but it's always good to know what's available and what you can have and what you can't have. So I'm going to switch real quick to this. Let's see, here we go. Here's some pets you can have that aren't a dog or a cat, or not that guy, you don't want him. Nice guy, but doesn't make a good pet. Well, let me explain something here. I've loved pets and had pets my whole life. In fact, here's some of the pets that I've had. I've had 2 monkeys when I was a kid. I had an owl. I had a pheasant. I had all kinds of birds. I had a fox. And I had a wonderful time growing up. But you know what? That was a long time ago. Things have changed a lot. And now, sorry, it's a law. No more wild animals. It just can't. It's not legal. But there's a lot of things you can have. And some of them are a lot of fun. But how are you going to go about choosing them? You have a lot of things to choose from. But you got to think about these things. Are they safe? Are they likely to bite or sting? Are they easy to care for? I mean, you don't want to be spending most of your time taking care of your pet. You want to have a life. So you want something that's easy to take care of. Are they interactive? And interactive is just a big word that means, can I play with it? I mean, there's some things you know you can't play with. Like if you got a pet goldfish, you don't play with him, right? And what's the cost? Some animals are very inexpensive, and some of them just cost an awful lot of money. So by the way, that does it bite thing, that's important. Because people are always asking me, does it bite? Well, think, does it eat? If it eats, it bites. We got a mess here. Just a moment, please. We're going to be right back. You know what? I don't know what happens here.
I'm not sure what happened either.
We're going to get some expert help here.
Okay. Wait. Get that out of here.
There we go. That's where we wanted to be.
Awesome.
Now, can you hit full the
Yes, absolutely. Get this going here.
That's it. Does it bite? Well, let's face it. If it eats, it bites. If you have a dog, you probably know that your dog's got some pretty important teeth. And your dog could bite you really seriously. But you trust your dog. If you have a cat, my gosh, a cat can really do you some damage. But you trust your cat, so that's not a big problem. And in fact, people have some pretty serious teeth too. So we have to just trust each other not to bite at each other. So instead of does it bite, think, do you think it might bite? Well, you don't think your dog might bite you, so you trust it. Okay, what are your choices? Well, there's amphibians like frogs. And amphibians are things that live in the water most of the time and on the land part of the time, but they breathe air, not like fish. They breathe air, and that's like toads and salamanders and newts and mud puppies and all kinds of things that you don't care about. Then there's reptiles, like snakes and turtles and crocodiles. Can you think of any other reptiles?
If you can think of anything, you can go ahead and mark your answers in the chat, and I'm happy to read them out loud to Tom.
Yeah, let's think of all the reptiles we can. There's quite a few different ones. Then there's fish. We all want to know what fish are, like catfish. And there's goldfish, and there's sharks, and there's clownfish. Mammals. Oops, what's next? Birds. And then mammals. Snakes, right? Mammals, you bet you can think of a bunch of those. I just put bunnies down there, but there's, what else is a mammal? A mammal is anything that's got fur. So think of something that has fur or hair.
Send us some answers in the chat if you can think of any mammals.
Got to be lots of mammals you can think of. And you know what? One of them has hair. Let's see. Oh, where do you get a pet? Well, you can get them at the pet store.
Oh, we've got an answer for mammals.
You got some mammals? How many mammals we got?
Yes. Kelsey Hetzel says guinea pigs.
Guinea pigs. That's a great answer. That's a good pet.
Absolutely.
Let's see. You can get them at pet stores. You can get them from a breeder. You might have a friend who breeds dogs, who breeds cats or something, and you might get them from them. Then the internet, places like Craigslist. There's some animals that they just don't sell much in pet stores, but you can find them on the internet, and they make really good pets. So always look at Craigslist. It's a fun place to go anyway. But here's where you cannot get them. You can't go catch them in the wild. In the first place, it's against the law. In the second place, it can be dangerous. And in the third place, it can make you sick. Animals in the wild can have some diseases that we don't know about. And when you pick one up, like for instance, a turtle, you might think, what a cute little turtle. And you pick him up, well, you get something on your hands then, sometimes, called salmonella, and it's really nasty. And then you go, uh-oh, and you do this, and now you got it all over your face. So don't pick them up from the wild. Always get one from a pet store or a breeder or an internet or something you trust. Okay, let's talk about the reptiles you can get. You can get turtles, tortoises, which is like a turtle except they live on land instead of water. Lizards, there's all kinds of lizards you can have, and snakes you can have. So let's see. Let's talk about turtles for a minute. Turtles, red-eared slider. This is the kind you're going to find in the pet stores the most. And they're usually very, very small babies when you get them in the pet store. But they're not very interactive. They don't like to be picked up very much. And this is the kind of turtle that lives in the water all the time. And anything that lives in the water is going to be messy care. I mean, there's one right there. There's another one over here. One over here. But you got to change the water. You got to take care of the water. And it's just a big mess. But they are inexpensive. Don't cost you very much. If you're going to get a turtle, there's only one kind for a pet that I think is really good. And that's this kind.
Want me to stop share?
This guy.
I'll stop share if you want.
Okay. Oh, yeah. This guy is a box turtle. And he's a weird turtle because most turtles live in the water almost 100% of the time. This guy lives on the land like a tortoise. See, he doesn't have webbed feet. See, he's got claws like a land animal. And he's got a great big old domed shell, so he looks like he's carrying around a box. That's why they call him a box turtle. And they're very, very calm. They don't get very big. This guy's not full grown, but they don't get much bigger than this. And he's got a cute little face. Can you see his face?
Oh, look at that.
And they're very safe. The only thing is, all reptiles will pee in your hand. He hadn't done it to me yet, but I've got a whole stack of paper towels here just in case. So this is the turtle you want if you want a turtle. Let's see what else we have. Let's see. We are past that, aren't we? What's next? Oh, tortoises. Okay. Well, tortoises generally are better, but they're very much like box turtles. Got one of those too. This guy. Oh, shut up. This guy is a Russian tortoise, and this is as big as they get. So he's a lot bigger, but that's as big as they get. Some tortoises get huge. You may have seen tortoises at the zoo, and some of them are huge. They're like 200 or 300 pounds, so you can actually ride on them. But those are Galapagos tortoises, and they're different. If you see a turtle in the wild, especially in Texas, don't ever pick it up because they're an endangered species. We have the Texas tortoise that lives here, and it's an endangered species, and we want to protect it. So we got to take care of them. But the Russian tortoise, he makes a real good pet. You just got to be careful what kind you get because you don't want to get one of them that gets really big. So the Russian tortoise is good, and when you get them, they're going to be a little bitty baby like this. Now he's all scared, so he's inside. See, there's his face. He's saying, "What are you doing to me?" But see, he's a little bitty guy. And you know what? It takes him 20 years to get as big as the guy I just showed you. So they grow really, really slowly, but they live a long time. They're going to live as long as you do. They'll probably live longer than you do. So when you get one, you got to think, I can't have him just for a couple of weeks or a month. You're going to have him and have to do something with him for the rest of your life. There's the tortoises. This is a Russian tortoise. Here's another kind, Herman's tortoise. You just ask them at the pet store, how big does this one get? Because they're a little bit interactive. Tortoises are smart for reptiles. Most reptiles are not smart. But tortoises are a little bit smart. I used to work at the Whitney Museum. Some of you have probably been there. And we had a tortoise there, or two tortoises. And I'd use them for programs like this, but I'd have to take them for a walk in the morning so they wouldn't pee in my hand during the program. And when you walk a tortoise, that's not me, that's another guy, and he's got a big tortoise, that's a sulcata tortoise. You got to walk really, really slow because they go really slow. And people would laugh at me out there when we're trying to walk a tortoise. And finally he'd pee and we get to go in. But we're going to put the tortoise away just a moment. There you go. And we're going to look at lizards. 3 kinds of lizards make really good pets. Bearded dragons, leopard gecko, and green anoles. The green anole, the one on our right, that guy, that's the one, if he looks familiar, you see this guy out in your yard. And he makes a pretty good pet. And the ones you see in your yard, they're full grown. Most of them, that's as big as they get. They get about as big as your hand. Leopard geckos get a little bit bigger. Bearded dragons get a lot bigger. They get about, as long as your arm when they're full grown. But all of these guys are safe. Yes, they can bite, but they have such tiny, tiny teeth that it doesn't hurt. It just pinches. And they're interactive. They do like people. They like to be around you, especially the bearded dragon. People carry those around with them sometimes outside. Care can be difficult because all of these guys are carnivores. Do you know what that means? It's a carnivore.
All right, tell us in the chat, what is a carnivore?
Carnivore eats what? And that makes it a little bit harder to see them. Meat, yay, right answer. They eat meat, so what do you have to give them? Well, the easiest thing is to go to the pet store and get crickets. They sell crickets at the pet store. They sell something called mealworms. You can give those to them. They like those things. But it's a lot of trouble, and it gets kind of expensive. But the cost for a bearded dragon is fairly high. It's not too high for a leopard gecko, and green anoles are pretty cheap. I don't have any lizards here today, I'm sorry. Snakes, yay. My favorite kind of snake, this is a corn snake. This is 2 different colors, and they're both corn snakes. And this is a ball python. These guys are slender. The ball python, he is short and fat. And he gets about 3 feet long, maybe longer, maybe 4 feet. And the corn snakes stay slender, but they get 5 or 6 feet long. Well, snakes are a pretty safe animal, as long as you stay with these 2 kinds. These are the only 2 kinds of snakes that I really think kids ought to ever have, because they're just very nice. They're somewhat interactive. Sometimes snakes really like you. And the care is easy. This is what's fun. The care is easy. Well, my snakes, I have, 3. I feed them once every 2 weeks. And if I forgot to feed them for a month, that would be okay. As long as they have water, they don't have to eat very often. And they're relatively inexpensive. You can buy a baby snake like, let's see. Oh, wait, I got one right here. Let's see. Full screen. All right, here we go. There. I've got a baby snake, I think, right here. This is the size you would buy in a pet store. So this guy's name is Rip. Come on, Rip. Here's Rip. Rip's about, he's about a year old. And see, he's not really very long yet. He's got a cute little face. Come on, show me your face. Can you wink at him? Oh, I forgot. Snakes don't have eyelids. He can't wink. But if you could, he would be winking at you. But you can see how gentle he is. Corn snakes and ball pythons are very gentle. Well, how big is he going to be when he grows up? That's kind of important, right? Let's see. I think I've got his, yep, I've got his big friend here. This is, oops, sorry, tortoises. This is Raphael. Okay, there's Raphael. And he's a full-grown corn snake. In fact, he's about 15 years old. And I've had him so long that he used to fit in my pocket like a little rip. Of course, he doesn't anymore, and he's got a beautiful face. Stick your tongue out. There you go. Good job. Why do they stick their tongue out? Anybody knows? Anybody know? Why do they stick their tongue out at you?
Tell us in the chat, why do snakes stick out their tongue like that?
Yeah, he's a real nice guy.
Anybody know? Why do snakes stick out their tongue like that?
You can wear him as a scarf if you want to. You can tie him in a knot, make him a pretzel.
Adayu says that's how they smell.
Ooh.
Meredith says to taste the air.
Oh, you guys are so smart. Those are exactly the right answers. They have a nose. You see his nose? Okay, he's got a nose there, but he can't smell with his nose. All he can do is breathe through it. So to get smell, they have to stick their tongue out. They get smell on their tongue, stick it back in their mouth, and then they taste it. And that's how they smell you. Well, now, Raphael did something really special last night. It's almost like he knew we were going to have a program today. He wanted to look his best. So he wore his brand new skin. He's only had this skin for one day. Because last night, he did this. He shed his skin. Yeah, that's yours. Oh, all the way through. He just crawled right out of it. Because when they eat, they get bigger. But they only get bigger on the inside. The outside, their skin, the outside skin doesn't get bigger. So they have to crawl out of that because underneath they have a bigger, brighter skin. And they have to do that their whole life. And the more they eat, the more they shed. And since he's a reptile, all reptiles never stop growing. They grow their whole life. They're never really grown up. They just grow and the growing gets slower and slower and slower. And pretty soon, something else kills them. But they never just like die of old age because they just live and keep growing. So let's put him up. And remember, ball python and corn snake. You can find them both in the pet stores as babies, and they make very easy to take care of pets.
Remember, if you have any questions, go ahead and share them in the chat, and I'll be happy to speak them for you.
Okay, where am I? Here we are. Snakes. This is the ball python. Remember, they don't get any bigger, actually any bigger than corn snakes. They just get fatter. They're fat and short. These guys are long and thin. Okay, reptiles not for kids. Well, most other kinds of snakes. Some of them you know right away you don't want, like a rattlesnake. But there's a lot of other kinds of snakes, and most of them you don't want. And I'll show you why in a minute. Iguanas, these little lizards. You see these little green iguanas all over the place in stores, in pet stores. And they're so cute. Monitor lizards, you see these in pet stores too. And this, we were talking about tortoises. This is a sulcata tortoise. You find these in pet stores. Isn't he a cute little baby? But look what happens. Uh-oh, they grow up. This here is a baby Burmese python. And they sell these in pet stores. Look what happens when it grows up. That's why they don't make good pets. This cute little green iguana, this little baby, look what he grows up to be. And this guy's got a tail that can cut your leg, and he's got teeth that can make your hand bleed.
We have a question from Budgies. She says, what about Chinese water dragons? Are they good pets?
They make good pets except for one thing, and that's in their name, where it says water dragon. They like water a lot. They need a lot of water, which means they're messy to take care of. But that's the only thing. Other than that, they're really good pets. They're just messy. Look how big this monitor lizard gets. You don't want that. This sulcata tortoise, my gosh, look how big they get. So that's why you don't want a sulcata tortoise. All right, mammals, yay. Things with hair. Well, the most popular ones, of course, for little pets are hamsters and gerbils and mice. But here's the problem. All of these will bite you. Now, I know you may know a kid who's got a hamster or a gerbil, and they don't bite. Well, you also know about dogs. Some dogs bite and some don't. Most hamsters bite, not only you, they bite each other. Same thing with gerbils. And same things with mice. And mice are so tiny, you can't hardly play with them because they're so, well, they're just so little, and they're so active and so fast. And so you end up, you know, oops, sorry, Mom, there's my mouse is lost somewhere in the house. Mom doesn't want to hear that. But guinea pig? Guinea pigs are cool, aren't they? Ferret. Ferrets are great. Aren't they beautiful? And they sell these in pet stores, but ferret stinks. And even if you wash them and wash them and wash them, they just stink all the time. Not like skunks, but ferrets have an odor, have a smell that most people don't care much for. Then there's rats. Now, rats got a bad reputation, but actually they're pretty cute little animals. They're very sweet and they're very, very smart. Well, here's the ones that I think are the best pets. Guinea pigs and rats, because they're both real sweet. And I really don't know much about guinea pigs. I've never had one. But everyone that I've ever known has been a really sweet little guy. And rats, I've had, I don't know, probably 25 of them. So I know a lot about rats. Let me show you. Okay, let's do this. There. Rats. Who am I going to get out here today? Where'd it go? Okay, whose turn is it to go out? Yours? Okay. All right. This is Tessa.
Oh, so cute.
And Tessa does have a cute little face, doesn't she? Rats are cool. They're smart. They have. They like people. They're social animals. You know, some animals live by themselves, like cats, for instance. There's tigers, which live by themselves and don't even like other tigers. Then there's lions that live in prides, and they like each other, and they always like big families. Rats are the same way, and hamsters are the same way. Hamsters are like tigers. Hamsters live by themselves. They don't even like other hamsters. Rats like each other. They live in big groups. And they like big groups. They like other things. They like people. So they like you. Your rat will like you. And they're easy to take care of. Well, kind of easy. I mean, you can always, let's see, stick them in a pocket. There you go. You happy there? There, she's happy there. And they like to be together. So if you get rats, I'll give you a couple of hints. Always get two, because they like to be around others. They don't like to be alone. And the other thing is get a girl. Don't get a boy rat. Get a girl rat. Here's why. I used to work at the San Antonio Zoo too. And I learned there, because we use boy rats for education programs. Boy rats pee in your hand and girl rats don't. I don't know why. But that was enough for me. I didn't like to have boy rats pee in my hand. So I've never had anything but grow rats. And I've never had one pee in my hand. Or bite me. I've had over 20 rats and never had one bite me. So this is one of my favorite, this is my favorite little pet, is rats. Say goodbye to Tessa.
Okay, Meredith says because girls are much smarter.
Well, I'm not going to say that. But you can. Let's just say girls are nicer.
Girls are nicer. There we go.
Okay, there we go. And we're back to mammals. And now we're going to go to what? There's a guinea pig. Aren't they beautiful? They're almost, well, they're generally safe. I mean, they don't bite. They have big teeth. All rodents do. But they don't bite. You can pretty much say that. They're very interactive. They like to be with you. You have to take care of them every day. They need to be fed and cleaned up every day. And they don't cost too much. Then there's rats. Rats don't cost hardly anything. You can buy baby rats for $5. And they take the same care and the same care as guinea pigs. Generally safe, very interactive. Daily care, you got to make sure they have food and water every day and clean their cages. And they're very inexpensive. Here's how sweet rats can be. This is a friend of mine's, his pet rat and his pet dog. They get along great. Oops, I need to go back one, excuse me. Amphibians, remember we talked about amphibians are animals that live part of the time in water and part of the time on land. Well, and I also said don't get animals in the wild. Everything's got an exception. Gulf Coast toad. This is the kind of toads that we have around our area. And they start out as tadpoles because they're amphibians. They lay their eggs in the water, and they hatch into tadpoles. And then the tadpoles gradually lose their tails and get legs. Then they come out on land and they become little toadlets. And then they become full-grown toads. Now you can get little tadpoles if you have a lake or a river close to you. And you can let them grow and become toadlets and become toads, and then let them go. Observe and release, we call it. They're your pet, but only for a short time, then you let them back out into the wild. Let me show you one. He's kind of wet, but he's been in the water. Let me switch here. Yeah, he's been in the water, so he's a little bit wet, so I'm going to dry him off. Now, when you pick up a toad, unless you handle him a whole lot, he's going to pee in your hand. It's just a rule. They do that. They do that as a defense mechanism. They figure if you pick a toad up outside, he's going to pee in your hand. And the idea is, if I pee in his hand, he'll probably let me go, and he's probably right. But if he pees in your hand, it's no big deal. You just wash your hands. There's nothing wrong with their pee. Anyway, this is Elvis. Elvis is the one-eyed toad. He only has one eye, and I don't know why. I found him that way. Something got his eye as he was a baby. But since he only has one eye, he'd have a hard time catching enough bugs. So that's why I picked him up and kept him. Because I give him crickets, and he gets to have plenty to eat without having to hunt them. And these guys are safe. They don't have warts. They don't give you warts. Did you hear that? He's making little sounds. That's why he's called Elvis. He's the only toad I've ever had that makes sounds, little sounds. Can you guys hear that? Yeah. But they're very safe pets. And there's another one, a frog, called a Pac-Man frog or a dumpy frog. And they're not from around here, but you can find them in pet stores. And they have to live in water. You keep them in water and land where they can get out of the water, but get back into the water when they want to. And these guys are very interactive. You can pick them up. Most frogs you can't, but this kind you can. They're carnivores like toads, so you have to give them the right kind of food. You have to give them crickets from the pet store. So they take a little bit of care, and they're a little bit interactive, and they don't cost too much. Fish. Oh, wrong kind. Oh yeah, those kind of fish. The ones you keep in an aquarium. Well, you can have goldfish, mollies. There's sailfin mollies and black mollies, all kinds. The ones I'm showing you are very inexpensive. Zebrafish, which are real pretty, look like zebras, they have stripes. And the beautiful little neon tetras. They look like they're lit up with lights inside. All of these are very, very easy to raise and easy to take care of for fish. And they're inexpensive. But they'll have lots of maintenance because, well, they live in water. You got to change the water. You got to take care of the water. You have to add water when it needs it. They're safe. They're not going to bite you. They're not interactive. Don't take them out of the water. And these that I showed you are low cost. Now, there's some you should not get that they sell in pet stores. In a pet store, sometimes they'll say, you need an algae eater, like a Plecostomos, or they call it a Pleco. Don't get one. We're trying to get rid of them in Texas. They're a big problem. When they grow up, they get this big. And when people get tired of their fish or tired of their aquarium, what they do is they usually think, I'll give them a good home, and so they go dump them in the river or dump them in the lake. Well, that's a bad thing. They're not supposed to live there. They're not from here. They're from another country. And the Plecostomus doesn't have any natural enemies here, so he just keeps growing and growing and growing, and he's a big problem for the Texas lakes and rivers, so don't get a Pleco. And saltwater fish, everybody thinks that, gee, Nemo is so cute. I want a little clownfish like Nemo. Don't, because he's a saltwater fish. And a saltwater aquarium is high maintenance. That's like an hour and a half a day. And you don't want a saltwater aquarium because it drives you crazy. It's just way too much work. I even had one as an adult and it drove me crazy. Bugs. I didn't bring any today. Of these, I have one of these actually. Which one do you think I have? Tarantulas, scorpions, or roaches? Which one do you think I would have as a pet?
Okay, voice your votes in the chat. Which one of these do you think Tom has as a pet? Scorpion, says Meredith. Anybody else? I think he has a tarantula. Teresa says cockroach. Kenley says tarantula.
Teresa's right.
Jen says tarantula. Adayu says tarantula.
Yeah, I have cockroaches.
Teresa gets it.
I have Madagascar hissing cockroaches. And actually I have about 200 right now because in the summer they have lots and lots and lots of babies. They don't bite. And as long as I keep them in their cage, they're fine. If they get loose, my wife gets very upset. But I try not to let that happen. The tarantulas and scorpions, you'll find both of those in pet stores. Don't get them. They're both venomous. Venomous means poisonous. And the scorpion obviously has a great big stinger here, and they will sting you. This is an emperor scorpion. This is the big black one they sell in pet stores. They don't sting you very much, but all it takes is one time and it hurts like crazy. Same thing with tarantulas. Here's two problems with tarantulas. For one thing, they're very delicate. If this guy dropped him and he fell on the floor, he would probably break. Their legs break off very easily, and you don't want to do that. The other thing is if they are venomous, and if they get scared, they will bite you. And if they bite you, it hurts a whole lot. So you just don't need that. So if you got to get a bug, there's a couple of pet stores in town that sell Madagascar hissing cockroaches, and you've probably seen them in a school or somewhere before. They're pretty common as education animals. Birds are cool. There's two kinds of birds that I really recommend for kids. One of them are doves. Two kinds, ringneck doves. That's this kind over here. You can't see the ring around her neck right now. The back of her neck has a black ring. And the other kind is little diamond doves. Both of these are sold in pet stores. The reason I like them is because they will not bite. I don't say that about many animals, but they will not bite. They will not peck you. They're just the sweetest little birds in the world. They're very safe. And they take daily care, because all birds do take daily care. You got to clean their cages. They're going to poop, and you're going to have to change the bottom, and you're going to have to give them food and water. They're interactive. You see this little girl? Doves are almost tame from the very beginning. They're just very sweet. They're very expensive, but the problem is you can't find them in pet stores, and that's because they're so inexpensive. Pet stores can't make any money selling these guys because they just don't cost enough. But on the internet, like Craigslist, you can find pigeons, and the other one, doves, like these guys, and this one, pigeons. See, this lady's got a pigeon, a pet pigeon that has a little harness, like a dog harness, so she can take him outside. And a pigeon is just a big dove. He's got another name called a rock dove. And he's also very, very sweet. So these are all wonderful. I'll show you one. This guy here, his name is Ryan. And here's Ryan. Now he's a ringneck dove, but look, no ring. In fact, he's the wrong color. That's because he's an albino one. He's a white one. He's an albino, which means that he was born without his color. And you can find white doves pretty easily on the internet. They're beautiful. They usually have red eyes. I don't think that will show up on the camera. He's got reddish eyes. But they're very sweet. And feel better? Head to stretch. They just will not bite you. So if you're a little kid and you want a bird, this is the best one to start with. A little dove or a pigeon. Okay. Him away. Now, if you're a little bit older, if you're like nine years old or older, then there's two others that I would really recommend. Budgies, which are really budgerigars from Australia. And the wild ones are always green, like this guy here. And we usually call them parakeets in this country, but they're not parakeets, but we call them that anyway. It doesn't matter if you get a girl or a boy. See, this guy here's got blue right there above his beak. That's called his cere. And a male always has blue there. And a female, like this girl, you can't see it, but she has brown. So if the cere is brown, it's a female. If the cere is blue, it's a male. Of course, when they're real young, they're all brown, so you can't really tell. But they make pretty good pets. They're not very expensive. They're very, very smart. And then the cockatiel, both of these are little members of the parrot family. Cockatiels are bigger and maybe a little bit smarter, although they're both really, really smart. Both kinds can learn to talk a little bit. They can, or they will, bite you, I guarantee. Sooner or later, if you have a pet parakeet or a cockatiel, sooner or later they'll bite you, and it might bleed. It's not an easy bite, and it hurts a lot. You take daily care. You got to take care of them every day. Require daily interaction. You have to take them out and play with them every day, or they're going to get really bored. And they have medium costs. They're not too expensive, but they're not too cheap either. And then if you can't get any of those, and you want one that's absolutely no trouble at all, just get a pet rock. Because all it requires is dusting once in a while. No interaction. They will not play with you. They can be dangerous. If you pick one up and throw it at somebody, they can be real dangerous. And they're real low cost. You can go find one in your yard. Okay, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any of them now.
All right. So this is question time. If you have any questions for Tom about the care or the upkeep, or just questions about any of the animals he's shown today, go ahead and voice them in the chat, please. We'll give you a little wait time here.
Let me get out
Or
something.
any comments.
Let me get out something to play with in the meantime.
Teresa asks, what pet do you recommend for small children to learn how to take care of?
Very, very young children, I would say goldfish, because they have all the things. They're a living thing. If they can get used to having a living thing around them, but at the same time, they do require daily care. So they're going to have to get used to the fact that that animal has to have their care, otherwise they're going to die. So that's a good one to start with. If they're a little bit older than that, then I would actually say, and you may be surprised with this, I would say a pet rat or a guinea pig.
And Kenley asks, how long do your cockroaches live?
I don't know. I've got one that's 6 years old. So I mean, more than one actually. So I just don't know. Probably at least 6 years.
Wow. Any other questions for Tom? Teresa asks, how long do rats live?
Oh, that's the bad. I wish I told you this. The downside about rats is the fact that they have a short life. They only live about 3 years. So they're so sweet, and you get so attached to them that it's just wonderful. And then all of a sudden, they're gone. And 3 years may sound like a long time to you, but it's really not very long, not as long as you want them to live. But that's just the way it is. There, I feel better.
Any more questions, everyone? All right, well, thank you for joining us. If you are interested in getting the slides from today's talk, please email us at admin@philhardbergerpark.org, and we will send you a copy. We will also post the slides along with this video on our website next week. If you're interested in learning more about Hardberger Park and the conservancy that supports it, please visit our website, philhardbergerpark.org. We are a member-based nonprofit that relies on donations to support educational activities in the park. If you're able to give $5 or $10 to support programs like today's, we would really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend.